There's a few key people and a few key secrets that if you apply correctly, you 10x your real estate, you 10x your business, you 10x how you get to at the end of your life with millions and millions and more in the bank. And the secret that I'm going to unveil to you today is frankly another one of my like hidden secrets. I don't talk about it publicly a lot because I'm the co-living king. I'm the real estate guy, right? Like that's what I'm known for. So I don't really talk about this strategy, but I want to be public with it because I want to be transparent with it. This strategy is one of the things that I use to hedge my bets. This strategy allows me to go all in on real estate investing because I know that no matter what, I've got this other thing over here on the side that I'm investing in that is safe, that is secure, that is backed by some of the companies that are the oldest in the world. Right? These are some of the oldest, most successful, biggest companies in the world that back these policies that we're going to share with you. I'm not even going to bring you this. What I'm going to bring you, this is called, there's many names for this strategy, whole life insurance, infinite banking. But I think I just want you to empty your cup for a second and listen to this anew and listen to how this can be a hedge to real estate. Listen to this strategy as if, okay, I want to go all in on real estate, but I want to have some things over here on the side that are just growing steadily and surely. And the secret is these things actually then become a weapon that supports you buying more real estate because they turn into literally a lot of people call this strategy infinite banking because what it does, it allows you to be your own bank. You invest in one of these things and then it allows you to borrow from it like it was a bank over time. And you can use that money for whatever you want. You can use it on down payments for real estate, you can use whatever. So this strategy, I think more people should be doing. And my guy who does this, my guy, I'm bringing him to you. His name is Denny Folk. And he's a super solid guy. I've known him for years and years and years. We ran a Bible study together. And so I want you to listen to this on how it can support you in your real estate journey. So enjoy this interview and I'll check back in at the end. So, Denny, here it is. We are in April 2025. Tariffs are on or off or on or off. I can't keep up with what's happening with tariffs, but I do know the market is down. Are you scared? Are you nervous?
No, no, this is what we train and live for, Sam, right? For opportunities like this. And investing in stocks and even bonds, it's it's got its pros and cons, and it's one of the only places in the world where when an actual sale happens, people want to do the exact opposite of what they should do. If Nordstrom calls and says we've got a 20% off sale store wide, everyone floods through the doors to buy these great things on sale. But when the media says, oh, the stock market's down 10%, everyone freaks out and, thinks they should switch to cash as opposed to saying, hey, Microsoft is not all of a sudden worth 10% less and is not going to stop continuing to innovate and grow and just imagine what AI is going to do in the next 5 years of our lives, right? Much less 5 months. So, we're encouraging clients to be able to, when they have the right amount of dry powder, the right amount of emergency funds, to lean into this and be opportunistic. So, general rule of thumb: if you don't see yourself needing those funds in 12 to 24 months, then the obvious answer is put it to work, like buy great companies.
Man, it's so good. I got an email from you when things were kind of starting, like when the first couple of days after the tariffs were announced, and stock market started to like crash pretty hard actually. And then it was so cool to get that email, and I just want to share this because I want people to know that you're actually your business, in your life and your business with your clients, you do take this approach, not just publicly here, but got an email from you, and I was expecting maybe you to be, for you to in some way try to calm the fear. I don't know what I was expecting, but I opened the email from you because I was like, I knew the market was down. And I was like, and you're basically like, hey guys, you should be buying right now. And I was like, I mean, sure enough, like the next day, right, we had probably the biggest gain in the stock markets. Now, granted, all that kind of played out. But how do you coach your clients to not? How would you coach your clients to just not be in fear? Because I really do resonate with this idea of like, even when things go down, like real estate, stocks, whatever, like that potentially is an opportunity. Potentially is a good buying opportunity. But we get in our heads. How do you get someone out of their head to see that as an opportunity and not be shaken in their boots?
Great question. And a big part of it is talking about great companies versus the stock market. So, right, when I say a company like Microsoft, um, you know, uh, Coke is a great company. Microsoft's a great company. These are great companies that all of a sudden, you know, became 10% less, 15% less than they were one day before. Don't think so, right? And just the amazing innovation that's happened in the last 5 years of our lives, especially 10 years of our lives, that is going to continue to keep happening. And it's getting faster and faster. And so, talking with clients early on about just fundamentals of like, what is a stock? What is a bond? So that they are clear on when the media is talking about the market, they don't just think about everything going backwards, because there are other financial tools that typically, when stocks go down, bonds go up. And so understanding those dynamics, and talking about like the actual great businesses versus just the market, and then showing some of the visuals like I included in that email of like how much the market can move in any given year, but historically speaking, how many of those years ended up positive versus negative, right? And so COVID's a phenomenal example of when the intra-year low was down 34%, but the so this S&P 500 ended up 16% that year, right? So it's a
Wow.
50% swing, and that's just more fresh in our minds. But we went from COVID and then this 5 year run of just like it doing nothing but up. And so every meeting going back, say, hey, when things are good, hey, just remember, it's not always like this. When it's, if it drops 15%, that's actually pretty normal. And we haven't seen that in a bit. So getting back to some of those fundamentals.
I think having a coach too, like someone in your corner like you, or it can be someone in their life that can see the forest for the trees, that's like a little zoomed out from it. I think has been really helpful. So I think that's nice where you came in to say, hey, you're a steady, consistent voice during times like this, and I think that's really powerful.
I
I
appreciate
know
that.
you're, yeah, I want to talk a little bit about a strategy you and I have used a lot. We did a podcast on, I'll even link the podcast here in the show notes, but we did a podcast largely about this thing called permanent life insurance, where, yeah, you can probably explain it in 30 seconds better than I can explain it. Because it's kind of, I remember when I first got my first permanent life insurance policy, I was like, this is kind of complicated. Like I'm a simple guy. Like I need to, I invest in real estate because I can like touch it, right? Like I don't know anything else other than that. But you kind of got me into this mode where I wasn't just doing real estate, right? I was very real estate heavy, and I still believe in real estate a lot. And I love that, I'm all in on the co-living model and solving affordable housing. But this has been something that you and I have talked about a lot. I'm invested in several policies with Northwestern Mutual, the company that you're with, and we even talked about getting another policy this year. So I'd love for you to share with people maybe how these policies can kind of support people during times of economic uncertainty. Um, I always think of these policies as like kind of a safe play. Like for me, I feel like they're a safe play. They're not really subject, and again, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but they're not subject to all the crazy whims of the market. Yes, there can be some fluctuations, but it doesn't seem like there's the intense fluctuations that are just if I'm in the S&P or something like that on an index. But would love for you to just kind of share people what that is in a brief format, and maybe your journey through getting your own policies.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And permanent life insurance, there are a lot of different flavors. And so it would be important to talk about the flavor we are talking about and have implemented. And a lot of our clients lean on these large mutually held companies. And so even though have my platform or Northwestern Mutual, we have open architecture to all the major carriers in the life insurance space. It's just that this particular type, which is tied to the general account of a mutually held company, means that it is not exposed to the ups and downs of what the stock market would be. There are flavors where you can participate in the S&P 500, but especially for the majority of our clients who are in real estate specifically, who need access to liquidity, that in many cases, when the stock market is down, is the best time to be buying real estate. So you don't want that correlated asset to be down 20% when you're trying to buy something that's 20%. So you named it perfectly in that it is the safe segment of your financial picture. all of our clients have three segments. The home run segment, which for you is real estate. In many cases, that's the business. It could be a stock portfolio. It could just be like your mindset of being an entrepreneur or being the home run segment. Then there's aggressive. Aggressive is stocks, right? 401ks, IRAs, that typically is a more aggressive bucket, a brokerage account where you are trying to get the highest rate of return possible. And stocks and equities is the best place to do that. But the final segment, and we all have it, right, is that safe segment, the off the roller coaster, the sleep good at night, accounts. And this is where properly funded and properly structured permanent life insurance is a far more efficient cash alternative, and in many cases, just as good as most bonds out there. And so it's a way to be able to, first and foremost, life insurance provides a death benefit. So when a lot of our clients are buying real estate, they're taking out debt. It's a good way to cover that debt. God forbid they got hit by the proverbial beer truck. There is a death benefit that covers debts, but inside those plans is accumulated value. It used to be called cash value, which I kind of like a little bit more because it's like cash, but it's termed accumulated value. That is money inside the plans that's much like the equity inside of a home that you can tap into and borrow from without the impact of tax and replenish it back into the account. So especially in real estate, when you got to be patient, you got to find the right deals. You want to have this growing amount of access to liquidity that you can tap into at opportune times. And so we've found that your big mutuals, Northwestern Mutual, Mass Mutual, Guardian, New York Life, you could throw Penn Mutual, these big mutually held companies can present a dividend interest rate that in the long run is far more efficient than a money market or CD, right? It's just a better cash alternative. And it's in the wrapper of being able to access those funds without the impact of tax. So
Right.
even, we've had these CDs and money markets that, just a few months ago were in the 5.5%. Sometimes you can even find like a 6% CD, but you pay normal income tax on that interest. And this is why banks utilize large, purposefully structured permanent life insurance contracts as their top tier safest assets, because these big mutuals are predominantly all AAA rated. And so they have a tranche of liquidity that is inside these bank owned and corporate owned life insurance contracts that if the CFO of Wells Fargo dies, they've got a death benefit to go out and hire, the next best person and pay him a good contract. If he doesn't die, they've got the accumulated value inside the policy that is reinforcing that bank's financial strength. And so we take that down to more of a personalized level to say, hey, in your family's financial fortress, what are some of the fundamental foundations that you can put in place to protect against some of the worst case scenarios, but also in times like this, be opportunistic around tapping into that accumulated value for real estate deals, for buying the dip in the event the equity market's down 20-30%. You can borrow and replenish. And that's like different than say a 401k. A 401k has a limit of $50,000 that you could borrow and put it in. These permanent life insurance contracts, you don't have that kind of limitation on how much access to liquidity you have.
Yeah, and unlike the equity in your house, the equity in this permanent life insurance plan is easy to get to.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little difficult to get the equity out of your house out of it. You're like, it's paperwork. And yeah.
Yeah, you have to qualify for the policy, and then it's typically every carrier is a little bit different, but we like to tell clients within 3 to 4 business days you have those funds in your account, and it's no underwriting, right? It's like you just say, hey, I need to get those funds into this bank account to close. Great, give us at least a 4 or 5 day heads up, and it'll be in your account.
And it's also not subject to like lawsuits too. Like it's hard for someone to if I remember correctly, like it's pretty safe, like safe. Like you said, you mentioned, okay, it's out of the range of taxes, it's out of the range of creditors, like it's there,
Yeah,
which
it's
is pretty
another
badass.
feature that is from an entrepreneurial standpoint, they like to call it creditor and predator protected.
Yeah,
If you got
that's good.
somebody trying to come after you,
That's right.
um,
That's right.
you know,
Not that we're suggesting anybody go on a rampage, do anything crazy. So they have, but that's great. I even like this word financial fortress, man. I think that's really a cool way to look at. This is like a cool mindset to look at what everybody's building through what you teach, through what I teach. It's that's the ultimate end goal that we're trying to get people to is like, hey, we want you to have a fortress you feel really good about, whether that's passive income or invest money here or these life insurance plans. So my final question for you, man, is really just like, what would you say to someone who's like on the fence about this life insurance stuff? I talk about it a lot because I talk about it a lot, even when I teach in real estate, I talk about it because I'm like, guys, this is a nice, I think you and I talked about this in the podcast that I'll link down below, but it's a nice balanced thing, right? I love that you mentioned those three buckets. I don't even think, unless they're more sophisticated, I don't think a lot of people think about those three buckets, right? It's more about just where can I go to make money? At least my generation, that's kind of how they think about it. So, what advice would you give to someone who's maybe on the fence about taking some action on the life insurance side of things, or next steps for them to kind of learn more about it?
yeah. A great way to think about it is that it is a complement, not a competitor to all the other things you're considering doing in your financial plan. In that, a common, debate is like, well, I could do better over here. Well, that's all relative to what you're talking about. And so when I talk about a complement to like the S&P 500, there is no debate that traditional based portfolio life insurance is going to get a higher rate of return of the S&P 500. That's no debate. Like that is clean and clear. What we can say though is like, for instance, when the S&P 500 is down, had you started a systematic savings program that gradually built up that dry powder that you then deployed during COVID or during tariffs or whenever the AI correction or crash or whatever happens whatever those events are, you have just complemented that amount of like, okay, buying that dip and letting those funds take off, and being able to put it back in. And the second part of the complementing piece is just tax complement, right? We've got Roth IRAs that are tax free on the growth, but you're limited to $7,000 per person per year. That's a limited place. HSA, health savings account, you're limited to how much you can put into those buckets. And so to have access to a bucket that is accessible tax free versus capital gains taxes are currently 15 and 20%. Who knows what capital gains taxes are going to be in our lifetime? We're $36 trillion in debt. We got to come up with tax revenue somehow. That may be something in the future where you're like, it would have been nice to have some money over here that just wasn't taxable to buy myself 4 to 8 years to see if the, Congress gets things changed. And then there's, a more tax favorable time. So, my journey, I started my first permanent plan when I was 21 years old, had a mentor walk me through the basics of 401ks, IRAs, brokerage account, permanent life insurance. And at that time, Sam, I was putting $150 a month into it because I was doing the other things as well. And I felt like this is a good forced savings mechanism. And so some people could say, I'm a really good saver. I'm just going to be saving it in the S&P. There's the knowing and then there's the doing gap that in many cases happens. And there is some beauty in these contracts that at least say you really want to make sure you fund this for at least 8 to 10 years. Like 8 to 10 years of disciplined funding can then present the rest of your financial plan being more efficient, utilizing that tool to complement your real estate portfolio, your stock portfolio, your private equity. So for Lauren and I, it's helped us along the way purchase rental property to be able to buy the dip when COVID happened, to be able to sleep good at night, knowing I've got money that isn't going to go backwards every single year. So, and then the final piece of like complementing, as that bucket gets bigger, you don't have to keep as much just traditional cash sitting there, losing effectively 2%
Right.
year over year over year.
Yeah.
And then the last piece of perspective I'd add is that, to your point about like access to that accumulated value, the underwriting is very like to qualify for a HELOC versus to get your money out of that qualifying for life insurance does mean you got to be healthy. The younger and healthier we are, you get locked into those best rate class, and glitches can happen in your health. You can get a little bit of skin cancer and be uninsurable for 8 years. Your blood pressure can get a little high as the business starts growing and you've got employees or you've got 10 rental properties. Like, we're typically not getting a much better health than we are today. So, even if it's just securing term insurance, if your cash flow doesn't allow you to get permanent insurance today, you can secure term insurance with a really good company at a super low cost, and term insurance can be converted into a permanent life insurance contract at a later date, with
That's a
no
hack.
medical writing.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's a hack.
I mean, depending on your age and health, I mean, $1 million of term life insurance might be, $20, $30, $40 a month. I mean, it's super cheap to say, I've locked that in. Now I've got the guaranteed option to it. Whether or not you want to exercise that option, totally up to you.
So well said, man. You're so well spoken about this stuff. Always great being reminded of these principles. And then what I hear you saying, which is like, don't wait, start now. If someone wants to get started, how do they reach out to you? How do they find you, Denny?
Yeah, I mean, our site, dkd.nm.com. There's only one Denny Folk as well on the interwebs. So type in Denny Folk and Charlotte, and you'll find me. We're here nerding out every day.
Thanks for bringing your wisdom, brother. I appreciate it. We'll link all that in the show notes and we'll go from there. But thanks for bringing your perspective, your steadiness, your consistency. And here's to building a financial fortress.
Amen. Good spending time with you, brother.
Did you guys enjoy that? Was there some nugget or piece of wisdom you were able to take away? I would encourage you, if you were to just take one action away, it would be go look into one of these strategies. Do it with Denny, do it with someone else. I use Denny because I trust him and he's the guy who's doing these policies for me. So I would recommend him. But regardless of what, like, take some action on this, right? If you're going into real estate, great. I think starting there is a great plan. But on the end of things, I like these plans because they're like a forced savings plans. You put money in, you forget it's there, and then you wake up one day and you can borrow $250 from it, $250,000, $300,000 from it. You're like, holy cow, that just happened so fast. It didn't really happen fast, but it felt like it happened fast because you were focused on running your day-to-day business. So my recommendation is don't just listen to this. Go be an action taker. Go take some action.